Good morning, P. How's your week?
Oh, it went really well. Just recovering from this back injury. I kind of stuck with what I know really well. Wasn't researching a lot of new stuff, and really strong week in basic materials, oil, and crypto. Crypto was it wasn't that the week was strong, but the range was really nice. It just kept coin just kept moving through those levels, and it was pretty easy to play. Looking forward to getting back to full sector notes every day this week. I'm feeling well enough to get that in, so looking forward to that.
Nice. I especially I had to be 100% honest about it. Especially without you last week. I stuck to my game plan, which was just smaller sizing. Monday, Tuesday, try to get it done, and then be really careful the rest of the week. So I watched a lot of charts at the end of the week, um, Wednesday and Thursday, because I wasn't around much Friday, and it was pretty good. It looked like the market tried to sustain a level, kind of even a melt up there at for a day or two. It felt like on low volume, um, and then to see a little rally on most things on Friday was really good because that's not been the case probably three or four of the last weeks. We've just had tremendous sell-offs on Friday, like not little sell-offs, like pretty big sell-offs, given the whole week back in most cases. Um, so I was happy to not see that, especially going into a pretty news-driven week coming here. It looks like people are not afraid to hold stuff going into the news, where it felt like no one wanted to hold stuff over the weekend at the beginning of the month.
Yeah, it and the most fascinating thing that happened all week to me, and we'll get into it when we talk about individual stocks, was just the U-turn in basic materials. And AA was really the example of that, where did not have a good report or anything, but that was just a violent bounce
Yeah,
off of
yeah.
um, those, the lower 30s, and just kept going. So yeah, a lot, definitely promising. I think. I mean, for me, um, tech is tech's kind of. I mean, it's manipulated for lack of a better term. I mean, they really do just kind of move it around. But in terms of an actual read on inflation, recession issues, we get to basic materials and the actual price of something tangible. It's a kind of a better read on the economy for me, and I'll be getting into that as well.
Yeah, that I mean that's a definitely a it's probably a whole nother video, but that tech thing goes back to stock structure. Tesla's not stock structure is not like Ford. It's not like Pfizer. They're not dividend based. They're growth based to give their employees for the stock price to go up. And but
Yeah,
that's the easiest way to explain it. But yeah, that's a totally different topic. And did that take something not tangible? I mean, a dividend's tangible, right?
yeah,
Even a
exactly.
dividend is
Yeah,
tangible. So I totally the material thing. I agree with you. Um, Sadly, I usually get all the cues from you off of that, but it was very interesting watching those charts kind of um, come back to life. I won't even say hold. They came. Some of them came back to life.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Um, Got to ask you because I haven't talked to you in 2 weeks, man. What's up with this natural gas? That's usually our those oil and natural
Yeah, I
gas.
think it's been unseasonably warm in Europe, and I think it's possible that some of the panic moves for how bad it was going to be, that they maybe have a little bit more surplus than they expected. But yeah, I mean, you look at like UNG is just way underwater right now,
Yeah,
and so yeah, I mean, it's pretty shocking. Cold, you just kind of look at it and it's like, damn, I should have stayed in. I should
yeah.
have stayed in that longer.
Uh,
Um,
what was your lowest ad on cold? Well, let's put it out there. What was your lowest ad? I know
I,
Pele's got
I
a
got
beat.
I think it was like 1028 was my lowest ad.
Okay, and I was just under you, just barely under
Yeah,
you, not like 980. But I was
yeah,
I was out at like 11. I probably didn't even
yeah,
make it to
yeah,
11.
yeah. I had
Um,
I mean, if I would have, I had options. So like, if I would have went longer on the expiration, I might have stayed. But it was that move to, I think it was the last one I sold was at 14,
Oh wow.
and yeah, and they're and that's just it's a 25 now. So
It was in 27 Friday.
yeah, yeah,
Hey, shout out to Pac. He walked like he hit the lows on that like four times. Like he called the
yeah.
pivot. If you would have just, if you, I mean, it was a while ago because it was the $9 and $16 level, but he called it out every single time. Like, all right, it's going to turn and go north again from here. Probably a good for like 9, 12, and 16 is where I think it was at. And I messed with him on all of them except for that 16. But man, 2026 now, and I think there's still if you look at the weekly on this thing could go to 40. I don't know.
Yeah, it could, and that would put Boyle probably under $25.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's really between 20 and 25. You can just start to just buy some Boyle and just wait it out.
Yeah,
It's
I had 38 here holding, and Thursday, Friday gave that up. Um, that was like the last low in July. It was like the pre-summer low. These charts are hard to read on the share side though,
no,
because
for sure. Yeah,
because they're leveraged.
yeah, and I feel like I might need on my sector notes a separate thing for natural gas. I mean, it's completely different than oil, because I mean, oil's hitting. Some of these are hitting all-time highs again, and um, like Zom just broke through all-time highs,
Did
and it's just a completely different setup. So
on the I ran my trends scan, and anything on like the I think it was a 3 month. It was like every single oil company was on a 3 month trend up. Every single one. It was if you looked at it at the monthly, um,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
they all hit like Thursday, Friday as well. There was a ton, like the bigger ones, the ones you normally don't see. Um, did you see the oil reserve comment that we're gonna release? Obviously release it, but we're gonna refill it when oil hits $72 a barrel.
Yeah, I did see that.
For me, that's a low key way of them moving the baseline price of oil by just by saying that. Um,
Right.
for
Yeah.
it was more of
I'm
a
with,
60, like 65, 68 was probably the low end where you'd want it before. Um, that 60 to 80 range kind of be in the range, and 72 is a pretty substantial move up, especially when we'll buy a metric ton of oil um, if it hits that price. Where do you see that at next couple weeks? Like those two, do you see them being volatile, or do you see them kind of continuing their trends?
I um I kind of think that, well, like, so I sort of base this on Oxy just because I know it so well, that I do think Oxy's going to head back to 75 before it drops.
So continue
So I think
continue
the
the
uptrend's
trend,
going
continue the trend there for sure.
to continue the trend. Yeah. And then, a lot of the smaller ones like Rig, um, could very well head back to 450 from here.
Okay,
And
okay. So
SD 22 to 26. So and so those, you kind of get a smoother read in the mid caps, and I'm just not seeing any signs of a pullback there. The Some of the more out of the money calls are bearish, but they're not going into the puts yet. So until they do that, I'm not really seeing much of a, like, I'll add on the pullbacks instead of thinking it's going to fail until I see that change.
okay, okay. I really think excuse me, and I kind of nailed this in April with the supply chain saying they had an inventory problem, and then they all wrote off their inventory the next DR. But
Yeah.
I think the supply chain right now is just prices of fuel, for the lack of better terms. I mean,
Mhm.
it takes a lot of money to get things around, and when I mean, you guys are filling up your gas tank out there, um, it's still ridiculous. I mean, I'm still $5 a gallon out this way. Um, a friend of mine tried to get a trailer from Arkansas pulled, and it was like $2,000 just in fuel, just for the
Wow.
fuel.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I really think that's the supply chain issue is we're trying to ship the normal amount of goods and we don't have the lack of better terms the gas at an affordable cost for those people. And they have to push that over to us or not make the product, right? I mean that's the A or B. Some of those profit margins are 3 to 4% on a product, right? If you add 7% to the gas, it's eating a lot of that product away or profit from product away, and it's just that's really what I think. I don't think we're missing semiconductors and plastic and rubber and stuff like that anymore. I really don't think that's the problem.
Right. No, I'm with you.
All right, so more focused on this week. I'm not even gonna wait. Take 20 minutes to read the list of ERs this week. Um,
Yeah.
but definitely, that's it is what's gonna move the market, in my opinion. No matter what your bias is, or if you don't have one, that's what's going to create the opportunities this week, in my opinion. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, just the biggest of the big names going, and then some of the smaller ones, kind of under the radar will move large. Big week for solar too.
yeah, you put that in the Discord page, and I want kind of to take a second on that. One other thing, I mean, I don't try to trade like you. That's just not my style, right? And I'm assuming you don't try to trade like me, but
Right.
but thinking like you is something that I've tried to learn through the way, and the just the in phase comment having ER this week, so I'm looking at these plays. Um, as and then as a sector as a whole, I'm looking for the blue chip to move the sector as a whole. Um, that's something I think that's invaluable for people to look at because people will say in phase has ER. That's the only thing I'm going to look at. How do I play this? And then they just get so caught up and they spent so much time on something that's probably the hardest angle to play off the news, in my opinion.
Uh, yeah, and it's something back. Enphase just was in this crazy move off ER last time, and one of the things I said back in September is that Enphase, as far as earnings go, as maybe like the best stock going, their streak and consistency with it, but they got to bring this price down if it's going to make a move,
You called
because
it.
it was up. Yeah, it was up at like 315, 320,
Yeah.
and here we are. We're back down at 250. Earnings coming up this week. Could very well head back to 320 and bust through that on this. And earnings is risky, and you just don't know, but it's less risky to play the mid caps and small caps in solar, because they're gonna move with it,
Yeah.
and you don't have to put $300 up to try to play through earnings to catch a move. You can go much smaller and still get the sector.
Yeah, no, and you called the pullback perfectly on this guy. You could throw the Tesla in there too. We did the same thing with that. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
just wait for it, like just wait for it because they're gonna pull it back into these ERs. It seems like, especially if they're overextended. God, that's a fat weekly candle.
Yeah, and Tesla, big story there is they already had their earnings and recovered a bit on Friday, but is Elon going to sell Tesla stock for the Twitter deal?
Yeah, that's the
And it's less about like the amount that he's selling isn't enough to matter that much, but it's the perception of the act of doing that, and it's such a literally like a cult following with that stock that if things go bad, it could definitely get into like the one lower 190s on that. So that's definitely something to watch.
yeah. I'm 3 day rule on this right now for sure. Everything you said, I'm totally with you on that one though. How you feel about the midterms?
Oh, I think that the midterms are going to lack clarity and certainty, and every close race is going to be called, stolen, and there's going to be so like it and it if it's going to be bad for the market if the majority in each house is not settled when midterms happen. But I think that we could get a decent run up to it, and I mean, a Republican majority is more bullish, honestly, in my opinion. But we'll see. We'll kind of see what happens there.
Yeah, and I haven't really got to the result part yet.
Yeah.
I'm still on the run up of it. So that's a good call on the um, being some ones that are up in the air that are going to be contested. That's probably the best way to put that.
Yeah. Yeah.
My over under on that being a problem is probably 5. If there's
Yeah.
more than 5, um, especially if they're bigger ones. But
Yeah. Yeah. You look at the big Senate ones that were close last time. Basically, that's where you would look.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. But I see leading up to it being pretty good because I think there's just going to be. I mean, it's not going to last, but there's going to be a lot of promises made um, by everybody and their mother. Like we're going to do this,
Yeah,
this, and this.
and even if you only follow the stock market and don't follow politics at all, whales shooting their shot with Smith and Wesson, no pun intended, tells you that there's elections coming up.
Yeah, yeah. If you don't follow politics, just follow that Wells thing. They do a good job with dropping two or three things a day that are kind of important.
Yeah, yeah.
I do like that.
And then of course, you know, uh, weed is interestingly getting pretty close to nonpartisan. I mean, I don't, you don't really have, it's
It's
they
like
sort of can
80%.
read the room on.
It's like
Yeah,
8.
it's the public has pretty much said what they want with that. So that'll continue to be a nice
You
mover as legislation comes out.
If you are against weed in this country at this point in time, you have Reefer Madness on VHS, and
Right. You're a district in rural Oklahoma, pretty much. Like there's a couple like that. Yeah.
There's some out there. Man, I just don't. Yeah, I really think the 20% they have to answer. They can't. They're like, I'm going to lose my job if I don't answer. I'm a no.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's just where we are. And for the tax dollars you would get out of that stuff, what are we even doing? I don't get it.
Yeah.
I had expectations and bias wrote down here, but not too worried about that. Lots of ERs. Don't really want to talk about tickers there, but think that's going to move the market. Focus on sectors, and then the Feds. What's up with the Fed leak? Did you see the leak?
Yeah. I mean the conspiracy theory on that the bond markets were about to collapse, and it was kind of plunge protection. I mean, I think that actually could be something to that. I want to get into that a little bit with everybody and their brother talking about tilt now,
Yeah.
TLT, and that the divergence between the SPY price and TLT is the largest it's ever been, and that
Do this real quick.
what does that mean? There are okay, so first of all, with the leak, that clearly saved the day on Friday to me. I mean, you just look at what happened in the pre-market, and everything came back up, spiked, came down, and bounced, and it just melted up all day. So that was the catalyst for that. As far as like it did not move Tilt though. Tilt fell a lot. 1.8% is a huge amount for that particular ticker, and it is the 20-year Treasury bond. Bonds are confusing as hell. I'm still just learning about those, but one thing that I do know is that with this under $100, that's a very bearish signal for the market. So it either means that SPY is going to pull right back and match it, or it could mean that Tilt's going to bounce, like a dead cat bounce back up to 98 or something like that, or that they're just going to kind of meet in the middle and we're going to be sideways. So that's a long way of saying, like, I don't know that I don't think that this is an indicator that you can trade off of.
There we go.
But that Tilt can't can't stay down here while SPY goes up. I don't think that could happen. So so definitely something to watch. The longer tilt stays under 93, if it moves down to like the 80s, you be very careful about the upside on pretty much anything.
Yeah, that chart is on the weekly on the 10 year. It just has died the last, like you would say, the market has crashed the last 4 weeks. Wait, 8 weeks,
Yeah.
probably 8 9 weeks, maybe 12. It's just crashed. I don't know. I don't. Bonds to me are what you do when you have money, like a lot. Um,
Yeah.
you more of like a hedge, right?
Yeah, because the return on it is pretty well established, like what you're going to get. So yeah.
So do you have levels on it? Like, is there like no crap level for you here? That's 80.
Yeah. So it's actually the leaps to 75 that I tweeted out. Um, that'd be like longer term. That's like the disaster market of the recession depression pullback. If that were to happen, that's what I think that would be.
More than the
I think
20% we're talking about now that we.
exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I think I mean, to me the floor on tilt near term is 85, and that could happen in the next couple weeks. But it's kind of more likely to me that I think we see a
Rebound.
short term bounce. I think the hype and hopium of earnings run ups this week is has me bullish, at least early in the week.
This thing is crazy down. If you were the market's crashing, this is the chart I would be using for my to show people like my thesis. This feels like it should be in the 130 to 150 range. I would say that's
Yeah.
probably
Yep.
the high low for this thing. Um,
Yeah, it was when it lost 130, that was kind of when I first started to really notice it. And now everyone's talking about it when it's all the way down here.
of course. Oh, that's
Yeah.
that's half the reason. And I mean, I used to say it all the time, and I kind of like it's almost a pacifier or a blanket to Twitter, right? Like I used to use Twitter on when not to trade. Like, oh, I'm too late. They're talking about it, and it's
Yeah.
true. They're just late. If they're talking about it, they're just trying to hype it up because they want an extra 5 or 10% in most cases, or they're just late
Yep.
and they're trying to sound smart. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what you saw with all all the 2008 chart that you
yeah.
laughed compared.
And they had COVID to go off of, which is probably more relevant, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it made no sense. Most of them were at least alive then. Sorry.
Right. And it same deal with everybody talking about June lows, like
Yeah.
6 8 weeks after we were talking about that.
Yeah.
So
Bro, you had the China March lows. What do you mean?
yeah. Yeah.
You got me. You really, that's, I mean, a lot of people don't understand that. Like, I started looking for those lows because you found the lows in March. I was like, well, this should happen with other things too. And then, come April, May, June, July,
Yep.
here we are. Uh, you got anything you want to add here for the week? Keep this pretty short here.
Um,
Just overall stuff like outlooky.
uh, Brazil, man. I think that's
Okay.
the foreign market I'm most interested in. So keep it simple: EWZ, PBR, and Vale. I'm sure there's other Brazilian stocks, but those are really enough.
I dropped one in
Just
Colab. I forgot what it was.
really strong there. Yeah.
I dropped one. I
Oh yeah,
forgot
you
what.
got that one. Yeah, we can get into that one too.
I've been looking since you said it. I've been looking and like if I gotta like find countries on the stocks now when they come up if I don't know them, especially if they're energy. Like what country is this in? Because Brazil seems like I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I think this is one of those deals where it's just like you know yourself as a trader. So for me, it's hard to trade the downside and the upside at the same time. Sometimes, like basically, I trade the downside when not when I'm bored, but when I know the setup isn't there yet, and I'm like, okay, it's probably going to reject off this level, and so I'll just swing a put for 15 minutes. But like for like overall, I'd rather find the upside, and so like that's why I end up in Brazilian stocks or something like. It's like, okay, this is sort of detached from what's going on in Nasdaq, and there's a clear kind of bullish move happening here, and it just makes me more focused when that's my approach. So and this is where you just got to kind of know yourself as a trader, I think.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's kind of why I started searching those. I mean, you see them in my notes, those trend charts every week. Because I'm looking for stuff in
Yeah.
an uptrend because it just kind of fits what we both want to do, especially if it has flow direction. Um, 100%. Perfect. All right, well, let's get down to the Discord session here.
All right.
Stop